So if you think of the context of the space, we have a lot of channels that are newer, like CTV actually isn't that old, retail media, big growth potential, but is fairly new, at least in the context of using data on offsite. And so there needs to be more of a systematic way where the buy side can kind of funnel requirements and hold the sellers accountable to standardization. And that's really what we've done in the launch of what we call CASA, which is our Council of Accountability and Standards in Advertising. CASA has 4 branches that we've launched so far. Social, which has actually been around for 3 years. We launched it back in the context of social boycotts about 3 years ago, and kind of the lack of ability to have brand adjacency controls in social platforms. It's actually really exciting and really rewarding to see how far it's come, particularly this year when we're going into the first time we'll have an election cycle where the options aren't just like don't spend or spend. We actually have kind of reporting and more accountability. Like it's not going to be perfect, so there's no expectation of that, but we're going to have controls around brand adjacency. The second branch is SSP. The third branch we're talking about this week is then CTV and then retail.
Are these the kind of things that normally would be the role of an IAB or an industry body that you're kind of saying we have to sort of drive this because if we don't, who will?
It's really about feeding in those requirements to that industry body. So social is a great example since it's the longest. Ben Havanis and Rob Pearsall from Omnicom Media Group, who have led this, have worked very closely with GARM. And it's actually a lot of the key kind of pillars have been adopted by GARM. So that there has been kind of buy-side voices in the adoption of the approach there. Right? Retail media is a little newer, where the IAB has taken on some of the standardization there. CTV, right? You see the JIC, which is very sell-side focused, and we're feeding requirements there. So if everything could play out as well as it has with GARM and social, we would be very pleased.
Do you think this is you've been at this in different stages for different parts of the industry at different points. Are you seeing it change the way that social companies, for example, are building policies and products? Like, have you seen impact there, and then has that translated to spending changes?
Yes, with social, we really started around brand adjacency, and that was kind of a huge push, and we've gotten a long way in terms of the adoption of third-party measurement with DoubleVerify, with IAS, with Zephyr on the social media platforms. Kind of a newer pillar in CASA for social has been around how platforms deal with youth. And there's 2 things we push there and we're still pushing, and it's never going to be perfect, but there's things we can do that make an impact and that make it better. Of when there's influencers posting, they actually have the ability to do age gating. So influencers traditionally haven't had the ability to not post to minors. The second piece is that algorithms actually take into account age requirements. They have it. Is it going to be perfect? Sometimes people lie. That's kind of a next step, but at least when they enter that needs to be included in the algorithm. So there's examples where we're continuing to push there, but huge kind of advancements with brand adjacency.
One might not expect that you need this sort of thing. You don't see the same kind of brand safety issues in retail media, for example. What's driving you to be pushing that in that category?
So with retail media, we have so much growth potential because CPGs will now have the access to data in a similar way D2C brands have over time, right? Where they can target and measure with first party or second party data. So that's huge. But the problem is there isn't standardization, and without standardization, you don't know what amount of your spend is working, and you're not going to increase spend unless there's clear accountability there. So a good example there is video. So video drives, if anyone that's had experience in running MTA or MMM, you'll see that video always drives more incrementality and more incremental sales than a display ad will. But if you're looking at last click, display looks like it drives more sales. So having consistent sales lift measurement and being able to measure incrementality of video with retail sales, that is going to drive significant potential both for our clients and for the retail media networks.
What about the focus on CTV, which is in its infancy, but you might think it might not have the same kind of issues as other other channels?
Yeah, so we used to talk about our CTV branch as our CTV standardization initiatives, and we have been pushing it for some time. We've kind of now formalized it and really are pushing a lot of the industry organizations, including the JIC, around it. The announcement this week, which was particularly exciting, was with NBC of getting show-level transparency in programmatic. This is huge because in linear, you had show-level transparency, but you didn't have the ability of decisioning that you have in programmatic. A big blocker of this movement was essentially a regulation around VPPA. We have a solution that we've created, a clean room-based solution, where they can pass show-level data in a way that they're keeping the user data and the show-level data separate. So huge advantage for buyers while still being aligned with VPPA.